Have you ever felt that you carry within you something you could never name? As if, long before you took your first breath, long before your first cry, something had been deposited at the bottom of your soul. A gift sealed, kept, waiting for the exact moment to be opened? It is not imagination. It is not vanity. It is not self-deception. It is memory. The oldest recollection that exists within you. The certainty that you were formed with a purpose that the whole world tried to make you forget. Think for a moment. Since you were a child, there was something different about you, a sensitivity others did not have, a perception too large for your size. You could feel the mood of a room before a single word was spoken. You knew when someone was lying, even while they were smiling. And you were often told you were exaggerating, that you were too sensitive, that you needed to toughen up. But that was never weakness. That was the gift moving inside you, still wrapped, still waiting for the right day. Because the Almighty does not breathe life into existence by chance. Before you existed in this body, in this time, in this family, you were already known. And within you was planted a seed that no one else in the world received in exactly the same way. A gift. An anointing designed specifically for the battle that only you were called to fight. The problem is that no one taught you how to open this gift, and there is a reason for that. The enemy of your soul does not fear who you are today. He fears who you would become if you discovered what the Almighty placed inside you before birth. It was precisely because of this that I wrote this ebook, God's Handbook for Family Protection. Because what you feel is not just about you, it is about the entire lineage that the Almighty wanted to bless through the gift He planted within you. This ebook is not just reading. It is a map that shows how this gift was sealed within you, who worked to keep it closed, and what the spiritual rules are that you were never told about how to awaken that which is already yours by divine design. It was made for those who have awakened enough to know they were not born by accident, and who are tired of the shallow answers the world offers. The link is in the first comment, pinned at the top. But I must warn you, this type of knowledge rarely remains available for long, because what is in these pages contradicts narratives that many have an interest in keeping closed, and they have already tried to silence those who teach this before. So, do not wait for the perfect moment. The moment is now, chosen one. Download the ebook and comment below, I am chosen and I will download the ebook. Because the instant you declare it, the gift begins to move. And now that you have taken this first step, let me show you exactly where this gift has been hiding inside you and why you could not see it. The gift that the Almighty planted in you was never lost. It was covered, buried under layers that life kept throwing on top. The first layer was rejection. At some point in your story, someone made you feel that you were too much or not enough. And that wound taught you to shrink, to hide what was strongest in you, to apologize for shining. Each time you shrank, the gift went deeper, more silent. The second layer was fear. Perhaps you caught a glimpse of what you carried, a prayer answered, an intuition that saved someone, a word that changed a life. And that frightened you, because to touch your own gift is to touch a responsibility that the soul recognizes. The third layer was distraction. Screens, debts, fights, constant noise, so that you would never be in silence long enough to hear the gift calling. Because a distracted chosen one is harmless. The enemy does not need to defeat you. He only needs to keep you entertained while time passes and the gift remains closed. But notice one thing. Despite all these layers, the gift never died. It only slept, and from time to time it stirs. It is in those moments that you feel that unexplained restlessness, that craving for more, that silent certainty in the middle of any given night, that you were made for something greater than the life you are living. This is not dissatisfaction. It is the gift knocking from within, saying, I am still here. It is not too late. Open me. And here is the truth that few understand. This weight of feeling that you have never fully fit in anywhere, not in your profession, not in groups, sometimes not even in your own family, is not a flaw of yours. It is the sign of someone who carries a gift that does not belong to this system. You do not fit in because you were not made to conform. You were made to transform. And what seems like your greatest problem, this sensation of always being slightly out of place, is just the visible layer of something much larger, a spiritual game in which you are not a spectator in the audience, but the centerpiece of the board. It was to unravel this game that I wrote this ebook, God's Handbook for Family Protection. This ebook is not just reading, it is a map that reveals who is playing against the gift you carry, what the spiritual rules are that they never told you about how to shield the gift that the Almighty planted in you, and what has already been revealed about the exact moment we are living in, when so many chosen ones are finally waking up at the same time. It was created for those who have awakened enough to understand that reality is much deeper than they teach, and who are ready to go beyond the shallow answers that only treat the symptom and never touch the root. The link is in the first comment, pinned at the top. But keep this in mind. What is in these pages challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, and there have been attempts to silence this knowledge before, because a chosen one who discovers their own gift ceases to be easy to control. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is now, chosen one, because you did not come across this video by chance. Download the ebook and comment with faith. I am chosen, and I will download the ebook. And now that you have made this commitment, it is time for me to reveal to you the exact signs that the gift within you has already begun to unfold. There are marks, signs that most people ignore their entire lives, but that, when you understand them, completely change the way you see your own story. Pay attention, because you might recognize several of them in yourself right now. The first sign is that doors open and close in an unusual way in your life. Doors that no one expected fly open for you, and doors that seemed certain slam shut in your face. This is frustrating, but it has a purpose. The gift you carry needs a specific path, and sometimes the closing of a door is the greatest protection heaven can give you. You have been spared from places that would have stifled your gift. The second sign is your influence over environments. When you enter a room, something shifts. Some people feel strangely comfortable near you and open their hearts without knowing why. Others become uneasy, irritated for no apparent reason, and distance themselves. It is no coincidence the gift within you emits a frequency, and that frequency attracts those who need light and exposes those who work in darkness. The third sign is dreams and intuitions. You dream of things that later come to pass. You have premonitions that are confirmed. You know things without any way of knowing them. You thought it was luck. It is not. It is the gift functioning even while still locked away. Imagine then what it will do when you learn how to open it completely. And the fourth sign is disproportionate persecution. It always seemed like you fought harder than others for the same things. This is not a lack of blessing. It is an excess of importance. No one wastes ammunition on someone irrelevant. The intensity of the struggle in your life is the measure of the size of the gift you carry. And there is also a fifth sign, perhaps the quietest of all, the hunger that never goes away. You achieve something you thought would complete you, and for a few days there is relief. But soon that feeling of something missing returns. You have been called fickle, never satisfied, always wanting more. But what exists within you is not greed, it is recognition. Your soul tastes the shallow things of the world and knows instantly that it was not made for them. A chosen one cannot be satiated by crumbs because they were designed for a banquet. This hunger, which so often seemed like a curse, is in fact the most faithful compass you have. It will never leave you in peace until you are walking in the direction of the gift that the Almighty has planted in you. It is the gift itself, refusing to accept a life smaller than the one designed for you. And here comes something that must be made very clear. The gift that the Almighty has planted in you cannot be stolen, but it can be blocked, it can be kept dormant, and there are forces, both spiritual and human, whose job is exactly that, to keep the chosen anesthetized, to make you live your whole life carrying a treasure without ever knowing it was there. Many people will die with the gift still wrapped inside them, reaching the end, feeling that something was missing, that there was an unfulfilled purpose, an unsung song. This is the greatest spiritual tragedy that exists, not that of one who was defeated, but that of one who never knew they had a weapon. You will not be one of them. The simple fact that you are here, feeling something stirring inside, is already proof that the gift is waking up. God's Handbook for Family Protection. I am chosen, and I will download the ebook. And that is exactly what this ebook I wrote is about. God's Handbook for Family Protection. Because it is not enough to discover the gift, you must learn how to use it as a shield over those you love. This ebook is not just reading. It is a map that teaches how to activate the gift that the Almighty has planted within you and transform it into real protection over your home. Who are the forces trying to keep this gift blocked within chosen families? And what spiritual rules you were never told about how to armor yours against that which acts in the shadows? It was created for those who have awakened enough to understand that there is a game being played in layers, and who are ready to stop being a moved piece and become a conscious player of their own destiny. The link is in the first comment, pinned to the top of the comments. But I must be honest, this type of content rarely stays available for long because what is in these pages challenges narratives that many have every interest in keeping intact, and there have already been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is now. Chosen one. Because you did not arrive at this text by accident. You were led here. Download the ebook and comment with authority. I am chosen and I will download the ebook. And now that you have made this decision, prepare yourself, because the next truth I will reveal to you is the most powerful of all. Let me tell you what happens when a chosen one finally opens the gift that the Almighty planted in them. It is not a bolt of lightning falling from the sky. It is not an explosion of light that everyone sees. It is something much quieter and much more definitive. It is an alignment. Suddenly the pieces of your story begin to make sense. The pains that seemed purposeless reveal what they were for. The people the Almighty took away, and those He brought in, begin to form a design you could not see up close. You realize that nothing was wasted, that even the years that seemed lost were preparing you. The gift, upon opening, does not just give you a power, it gives you a purpose. And it is the purpose, much more than the power, that heals the weary soul of those who fought for so long without understanding why. And along with the purpose comes authority. There is a huge difference between a person who just believes and a person who knows who they are. The one who just believes still asks for permission to exist. The one who knows who they are occupies their own place. When your gift opens, you stop begging for approval. You stop trying to convince those who will never understand. And you begin to walk with a serenity that frightens the darkness, because there is nothing more dangerous to the enemy than a child of the Almighty who has discovered their own identity. The fear switches sides. That which once pursued you now recoils before you. But I must prepare you for a hard truth, because I did not come here to tell you half-truths. The exact moment your gift begins to open, the resistance increases. It does not decrease. It increases. Because the enemy realizes they are losing control over you, and throws everything they have into a final attempt to make you give up. This is why so many people give up right on the eve of a breakthrough. They confuse the intensity of the attack with a sign of defeat when it is the opposite. The attack intensifies because the victory is near. If your life has become more challenging since you started seeking something deeper, do not retreat. This is confirmation. You are at exactly the point the enemy feared most that you would reach. And here is the key that changes everything. The gift that the Almighty has planted within you does not open by force. It opens by surrender. The more you try to control it, the more it resists. The more you trust, the more it reveals itself. It is like a closed hand trying to hold water. Your whole life you have tried to make things happen through your own struggle, and perhaps that is why you have grown so weary. But the gift does not respond to desperate effort. It responds to confident surrender. The day you stop carrying the world on your shoulders and allow the one who formed you to lead the process, the gift will open with an ease that will surprise you. What you have tried to force for years will happen in peace. Now understand something about timing. Perhaps you look at your age and think it is too late, that the gift should have opened in your youth, and that you have wasted your best years. Listen closely. In the plan of the Almighty, there is no wasted time for one of the chosen. There is only preparatory time. Every wound was polishing the jewel. Every disappointment was teaching you to distinguish the voice of heaven from the voice of the world. Every trek through the desert was building in you the strength needed to sustain what is now about to manifest. A gift opened too soon, in an immature soul, would have been destroyed. The Almighty did not delay yours. He protected it until you had shoulders broad enough to carry it without breaking. And when it opens completely, your family feels it first. Before any stranger, before any crowd, it is the people closest to you who reap the fruit of your awakening. The atmosphere of your home changes. The arguments that seemed impossible to resolve begin to dissolve. The scarcity that insisted on returning begins to give way. The chains that passed from father to son, from mother to daughter, generation after generation, find in you the point where they will be broken, because that is what the gift was planted for. Not to make you superior to anyone, but to make you the instrument through which heaven will reach everyone. The Almighty has tethered to your life. You are the answer to prayers that were prayed before you were born. Perhaps a grandmother who prayed for protection over her descendants. Perhaps someone, many generations ago, who cried out for a deliverer for that lineage. And heaven, in the right time, planted in a womb the gift that would answer that cry. That gift is you. You are the answer walking. And that is why the enemy fought so hard to keep you sleeping. Because waking you up means undoing all at once the work he took generations to build over your family. But there is something you must learn before you go off carrying this gift, and few teach it. An open gift requires protection. Just as there is a calling upon your life, there is a target pointed at it. When you begin to shine, you cease to be invisible in the spiritual realm. And that is where the attempts to contaminate, to confuse, and to make you use the gift the wrong way come in, through pride instead of love, through vanity instead of service, through fear instead of faith. Many of the chosen have opened the gift and later lost sight of it because no one taught them to guard their heart while the gift was growing. A gift without character becomes ruin. That is why true awakening is not just about power. It is about integrity. It is about keeping the soul clean so that the light passing through you is not distorted along the way. Ebook, God's Handbook for Family Protection. I am chosen, and I will download the ebook. And this is where your family becomes at once your greatest treasure and your battlefield, because it is upon the closest bonds that the enemy most tries to act. It is in your home that he plants division, resentment, the harsh words spoken in exhaustion, the silence that hardens the heart. He knows that if he succeeds in dividing your house, he weakens the chosen one. A guardian distracted by wars within his own home has no strength to protect anyone. That is why the protection of the family is not a detail of your calling. It is the center of it. The gift that the Almighty planted in you was designed, above all else, to cover your own. And learning the rules of this protection is not optional. It is the difference between a chosen one who flourishes with their entire household and a chosen one who wins alone, surrounded by rubble they could have avoided. Think of how many entire families were transformed because a single member awakened. Just one. One person who decided to stop repeating what they received and start writing a new story. It was that way in every lineage that changed course in history. There was always someone, just one, whom the Almighty raised as a turning point. And perhaps you grew up waiting for that person to appear in your family, waiting for someone to finally break the pattern of pain, of scarcity, of fights, of repetition. Now listen, that person is you. You are the turning point your lineage has been waiting for. The gift was planted in you exactly for this. And perhaps now comes the most important question of all. Where do I begin? Because it is one thing to feel all this, it is another to take the first real step. Let me show you. The awakening never begins with a grand gesture. It begins with an intimate, almost invisible decision made in the silence of your heart. The decision to stop treating as coincidence what the Almighty has been speaking to you your entire life. It begins when you stop apologizing for being different and start being thankful for it. It begins when you set aside time, even if brief, to stay in silence and listen, because the gift speaks softly and the world is far too loud. And it begins, above all, when you decide to protect first what is most precious. your home, your own, the soil where your gift will take root. Because it is no use awakening the power and neglecting the foundation. A wise chosen one shields their own house before heading out to the war outside. They learn to recognize the breaches through which the enemy tries to enter the family, the words spoken in anger, the grudge held, the comparison, the spiritual door left open without anyone realizing. They learn to cover their children, their spouse, their parents, with a protection that does not depend on luck, but on knowledge and faith. And that is where most fail, not for lack of a gift, but for lack of a map. No one is born knowing the rules of this invisible war. They must be learned. And the chosen one who learns them stops reacting to attacks and starts preventing them, stops putting out fires and starts building walls. This is the difference between carrying a gift and finally knowing how to use it. I am chosen, and I will download the ebook, God's Handbook for Family Protection. And it is precisely this path, from the awakening of your gift to the complete protection of your home, that I have detailed step by step in this ebook, God's Handbook for Family Protection. This ebook is not just for reading, and it is not mere pretty theory. It is a practical map. A map that shows you how to open the gift that the Almighty planted within you, without falling into the traps that cause most to give up on the eve of their breakthrough. How to guard your heart so that the gift grows without corrupting you. Exactly who are the forces working against your lineage, and what are the spiritual rules they never told you about how to turn your gift into the ultimate protection for your home. It was made for those who have awakened enough to know that reality is far deeper than what is taught, and who are ready to finally assume the post of guardian that has always belonged to them. The link is in the first comment, pinned at the top, and listen carefully to this warning. This type of knowledge rarely remains available for long, because what is on these pages runs counter to narratives that many powerful people prefer to keep hidden, and they have tried to silence those who teach this before. Do not wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is an illusion created to keep you stagnant. The moment is now, chosen one, because you did not arrive here by chance. You were brought. Download the ebook now and seal your decision by commenting, "I am chosen and I will download the ebook." Because the instant you declare and act, the gift that had been sleeping your entire life receives the order to awaken. Before you leave here, hold on to this image. Somewhere before the time you know, before the first beat of your heart, the Almighty leaned over the idea of you and placed within it a gift the world has never seen the likes of. He knew every struggle you would face and even so chose to send you, because he knew that what he was planting in you would be greater than anything that tried to defeat you. You were sent equipped. You were sent loved. You were sent with a purpose that only you can fulfill. All this time you thought you were living in wait for something, but the truth is that something has this entire time been waiting for you. The gift never left. It was only waiting for the day you would finally stop, listen, and say yes. That day is today. Do not let the restlessness that brought you here turn into another night of doubt. Let it turn into a decision. Open the gift, take your place, protect your home, and walk from now on as the chosen one you have always been since before the first day of your life.